Hey everyone, welcome to lesson 3.2. Today's lesson is going to be on angle chasing, more angle chasing, this time with triangles. So we're going to learn the facts about we're going to learn how to use the facts that we learned last lesson about triangles in angle chases. All right, so our new angle chasing tools are the Triangle Sum Theorem, which, if we remember from last lesson, just says that all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So if we have our little triangle here, we have a 21-degree angle and a 31-degree angle. We can find this remaining missing angle by either adding 21 and 31 first and then subtracting that from 180, or some people like to just subtract them off one at a time. So 180 minus 21 minus 31, let's do that. We get 128. So the third angle in this triangle would have to be 128 degrees. We also learned the Isosceles triangle theorem, which basically just said if a triangle has two congruent sides, then it must have two congruent angles. And the theorem also goes the other direction. If you start with two congruent angles, then you must have two congruent sides. So two congruent sides and two congruent angles always happen together. Okay, so for this triangle, we see that we have two congruent sides. We know that from the tick marks. So that means that we're going to have two congruent angles. So this other angle down here, it's called a base angle, would also be 74 degrees. Okay, this other triangle also has two congruent sides, which we can see from the tick marks. So that tells us that the remaining two angles in this triangle that are opposite those congruent sides have to be congruent or equal to each other. And then we could find them. We could do 180, take away the 64-degree angle that we have, which gives us 116. And then to find just one of those angles, we can do 116 divided by 2, and we would get 58. So both of these remaining angles would be 58 degrees. Okay, that's a quick recap of what we learned in our last lesson. And then we also have all of our old angle chasing tools. So we're really familiar with these by now. We know that vertical angles happen when two lines cross each other in their across, and they are equal to each other. Linear pairs are two angles that make a straight line, and we know that linear pairs must add to 180. Corresponding angles, those happen when lines are cut by a transversal and they are matching corners and they are equal. Alternate interior, alternate exterior are also equal to each other. And then finally, we have same side interior, which we know add up to 180. So we're slowly expanding our angle chasing toolbox. Okay, now let's put all of this together and do an angle chase. So we're going to find all of our missing angles. Okay, first angle, angle A, that's right next to the 102, making a linear pair, right? So to find angle A, I would do 180 minus 102, right? And we should get 78. And our reason, my cat, is linear pair. Okay, we can also find angle B using this 102 angle. It's right across from it, so that would be a vertical angle. So vertical angles are equal, so B is going to be 102 degrees by vertical angles. All right, next up is C. So we want to jump from angle B to angle C. Oh no, I didn't mark that. These lines are supposed to be parallel. My bad, sorry. Okay, so if we know that they're parallel, then we can jump from angle B to angle C because these are matching corners, right? So they're corresponding angles, which means that they're equal. So that means angle C will also be 102 degrees. All right, angle D. Now here's where we get to use our new stuff. So for angle D, we have a triangle here, and it's isosceles, which we know because we have the tick marks telling us that this triangle has two congruent sides. So since it has two congruent sides, it also must have two congruent angles. So we can use that fact and triangle sum to find angle D. We can take the total of all the angles, 180, subtract off the angle that we have, 102, which should leave us with 78 degrees. And then since the other two angles are equal, we can take 78 and cut it in half, and we would get 39. Okay, so angle D is 39 degrees. And to find that, we use two things basically. We use isosceles triangles and we use triangle sum. Okay, let's see. So D is 38. We also know that this angle is 38. That's not one of our letters, but sometimes it's helpful to fill in one of the non-lettered angles on our way to finding one of the letters. So now let's see if we can find angle E. Angle E and 38, those are corresponding. So we could find angle E by corresponding angles to be, or excuse me, this should be 39. What am I doing? I wrote it right over there. Okay, so then E would be 39 degrees by corresponding angles. And then we could find F. Maybe we do vertical angles with the yellow one. We could do alternate interior with E. There's lots of options for F. I'm going to do alternate interior just because we haven't used that yet. But there's lots of ways you can find E and F. So F would also be 39 because alternate interior are congruent, or vertical angles are congruent. All right, so that's an example of angle chasing with triangle sum and isosceles triangles incorporated as some of our tools in our toolbox.